The coffee mugs were still warm. The sugar cookies I'd baked last night sat untouched on a ceramic plate. It was 6:30 p.m., the time David usually walked through the front door, but tonight he wouldn't. I stared at the door, almost hearing his keys jingle in the lock. Silence filled the house, heavy and final, like something was gone forever. My name is Erica Larson, and for 14 years I thought I had a marriage everyone wanted. David was steady, kind, the kind of man who made any room feel safe. He never yelled, was always on time, and brought me daisies every Saturday. He wore neat sweaters, paid the bills, and made life feel simple. We didn't have kids, but our life fit together like a perfect puzzle. Or so I thought. Soon, I'd learned that puzzle was missing pieces, and one was hidden in a place I was never allowed to go. David died on a Tuesday. The doctors said it was a heart attack. I remember the doctor's face, calm, practiced, distant. Sudden cardiac event, he said. It was fast. I nodded, like I understood. But it didn't matter. Not when you lose the one person you thought knew you best. The funeral passed in a haze of gray suits, soft I'm sorries, and strangers saying how great David was. I leaned on my best friend Lisa, who kept giving me water I didn't drink and sandwiches I couldn't eat. Then my sister Sarah showed up. Her perfume was too strong, her hug too tight. "I'm so sorry, sis," she said, her voice too sweet. "David was like family." I wanted to believe her, but something in her eyes wasn't right. It wasn't sadness. Later that night, Sarah poured herself a glass of wine in my kitchen. "I know it's not the time," she said, "but David lent me some cash. Can we settle that now?" I stared. "What cash?" She smiled like I was joking. "Oh, he didn't tell you?" My stomach twisted. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered the house, touching the couch, the books, the framed photo of our wedding that now felt like it belonged to someone else. Then I saw them. David's keys, still on the counter. Among them was one I wasn't allowed to use. It looked odd, heavier than the others. The key to his shed. Years ago, I'd asked about it. "Just tools and junk," David said, smiling. I didn't push. I never did. That was our marriage. Easy, warm, with corners I wasn't supposed to look into. But now, I had nothing left to lose. The next morning, I drove to the shed. It was in a rundown part of Portland, Oregon, behind old warehouses with broken windows and grass poking through cracked pavement. Not the kind of place David, with his pressed sweaters, would go. But every Wednesday, he went there. I never asked why. The shed's metal door was cold and stiff. The key turned with a creak, and I stood there, heart pounding, scared of what I'd find. I flipped the light switch and froze. This wasn't a shed. It wasn't tools or old junk. It was a secret life I never knew about. The walls were covered in photos, newspaper clippings, charts, and maps, all pinned up like a detective's board. One wall had rows of pictures, and every one showed David, but not my David. He wore faded jeans, old t-shirts, his hair messy. He looked free, happy, not the careful man I knew. And in almost every photo, he stood next to a woman. She was young, maybe 30, with red hair and bright eyes. They were close, her hand on his shoulder, his smile warm and real. I hadn't seen him smile like that in years. Crying. Some photos had dates written on the back. 8 years ago, 6, 2, one from July 2024, just 3 months ago. That day, I was at home, making his favorite pasta, waiting for him to come back from a work trip. Now, I was staring at a photo of him with this woman and a young man, maybe 25, all smiling like a family. On the back, in David's handwriting, Maggie and Ethan, July 2024. My legs shook. I grabbed a rusty desk to steady myself. That's when I saw the papers, stacks of files, bank records, letters from foreign companies, tax forms that didn't match anything I knew. In one folder, a medical report from Pine Valley Clinic, dated 2 months ago. David's name was at the top with words I didn't understand. Advanced coronary artery disease, high risk of cardiac event. He knew he was dying. And instead of telling me, he built this secret world with another woman, another son. My stomach churned. 14 years, and I'd stood by him. Now the man I buried wasn't my husband. He was a liar who, 2 nights before he died, gave me a silver bracelet, kissed my forehead, and said, "You're my everything." I stumbled toward the door, gasping for air. Then I heard footsteps, soft, sneaky. I spun around, heart racing, and there he was, the young man from the photo. Same dark hair, same strong jaw, same quiet eyes. "Erica Larson?" he asked, his voice steady. I didn't answer. "I'm Ethan Cole," he said, stepping inside. "David Larson was my father." I gripped the desk, speechless. Ethan moved closer, careful, like he knew I might break. I stared at him, seeing David in his eyes, his silence. "You're really his son?" I whispered. "Yes," Ethan said. "I'm sorry you found out this way." "How long did you know about me?" I asked. "My whole life," he said. "Dad said he was married, that you didn't know about me. He kept us separate. My mom, Maggie, didn't want to cause trouble. But after she died last year, things changed." "She's gone too?" I sat in a creaky chair, too weak to stand. "Why are you here now?" I asked. Ethan pulled a folded paper from his bag. "It's a draft of a will," he said. "Dad gave it to me 2 weeks before he died. The real one goes to you, but this was a backup." I opened it. David's handwriting, familiar from birthday cards, listed assets, Ethan's name, and a company I didn't know, Silver Coast Ventures. It also mentioned documents in office safe, code tied to gift for E. I touched my wrist where the bracelet wasn't. I'd left it at home, too heavy to wear. Now it felt like a secret. "What's Silver Coast Ventures?" I asked. Ethan sighed. "One of Dad's private companies. He moved money overseas through it. After Mom died, I found accounts in my name I didn't open. He was hiding something. For us, maybe." "Why?" "Because he knew he didn't have long," Ethan said, "and he didn't trust his partners." I looked up. "What partners?" Ethan's face tightened. He never said names, just that if he died, someone would come looking for what he left behind. I stood, shaky, and looked around. The shed wasn't a memory anymore. It was a warning. "I need to go home," I said. "I need that bracelet." "Can I come?" Ethan asked. I nodded. This was our mess now. But first, I needed to think. I called Lisa. Soon, I was at her apartment, holding tea I didn't drink, the bracelet on the table like a bomb. I told her everything. The shed, the photos, Ethan, the will. She didn't judge. She just held my hand and said, "I'm so sorry." I wasn't ready to cry. I wanted answers. So I drove to Sarah's loft in a fancy Seattle high-rise, all glass and gated parking. Odd for someone always broke. In the elevator, my anger grew. Sarah answered the door in yoga pants, holding wine, her makeup perfect. "Look who's here, the grieving widow," she said. "Come to check my bank account?" "Enough, Sarah," I snapped, pushing inside. On her shelf was a photo. Her and David, clinking glasses, laughing. Dated 6 years ago. "What's this?" I asked, pointing. She sipped her wine. "Oh, a work party. You were too busy, remember?" she said, mischievously. "We always got along." "How well?" I asked, stepping closer. Her smile faded. I know about Maggie, Ethan, the shed, the fake company, the will, I said. Tell me the rest. Sarah poured more wine. Fine. Truth. She touched her stomach. I'm pregnant. It's David's. I froze. 10 weeks, she said. He knew. Said he'd handle it. Even said he'd leave Maggie. You kept seeing him after Maggie died? I asked. Sarah shrugged. She was temporary. I was always there. I felt sick. You slept with my husband? I whispered. She smirked. Don't act shocked. You had your perfect life. Dinners at 6:30, daisies, a cozy house. I was scraping by, working awful jobs, hearing Mom say I'd never be you. David helped, listened. Her eyes sharpened. You were his habit. I was his freedom. I slapped her before I knew it. Her wine glass smashed on the floor. She didn't cry, just smiled. There's the real Erica, she said, not the perfect wife. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, quieter. You wouldn't believe me, she said. You thought I was jealous. Maybe I was. But this was about me getting something. I shook my head. You didn't get something. You stole everything. She stepped closer. This baby? It's your family, like it or not. I swallowed hard. I'll honor David's will, for the baby, not you. Her face softened. You mean that? I don't know, I whispered. But I'm leaving. I walked out, glass crunching under my shoes. I didn't go home. I couldn't face the neat plates, the empty bed. I went back to Lisa's, clutching the bracelet. She opened the door, saw my face, and said, "Sleep." But I couldn't. The next morning, Ethan drove me to David's office in a sleek Seattle tower. He'd called it a meeting space. I'd never been there. Ethan had a key card. I'm a co-owner, he said, swiping us in. The receptionist didn't look up. David's life was so split, no one questioned it. On the 12th floor, we entered a cold office. No photos of me, just glass and steel. Ethan pointed to a modern painting. The safes behind it. I pulled out the bracelet, twisted the clasp, and a tiny panel opened. Inside was a metal chip with numbers. Ethan slid it into the safe's keypad. It beeped, then opened. Inside were papers, a USB drive, a wooden box, and a key tagged Bank Deposit, Pacific Trust. Ethan grabbed the papers, contracts, bank transfers, foreign accounts. He wasn't just hiding money, he said. He was moving it fast. I picked up the USB, but didn't plug it in. Then I opened the box. A gold ring with a tiny emerald. Not mine. Inside, an inscription. M forever. Not E, not me. He bought her a ring, I whispered. He loved her, crying. Lisa gasped. Ethan looked away. In that empty office, I saw it clearly. David loved Maggie. He might have loved me, but she got the real him. The laughs, the trips, the smiles. I got the routine. Daisies, dinners, lies. Then Ethan handed me a letter with my name on it. I opened it, hands shaking. Erica, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry. I was too weak to tell you the truth. I built 2 lives because I couldn't choose. It cost me everything. I loved you, even if it feels hollow now. I wanted you safe. That's why I left you the papers, the codes, the truth. Use them, burn them, or share them. Your choice. Forgive me, if you can. David. I passed it to Lisa, then Ethan. No one spoke. The man we knew was gone, and we had to decide what to do with the pieces. We left quietly. Lisa drove. I stared out at Seattle's rainy streets, holding David's secrets. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Erica Larson? A man said. Yes, I answered, tense. I'm Paul Reed, David's business partner. You have something of mine. I don't know what you mean, I said. The safe's documents, he replied, calm. Some involve accounts I set up. Let's meet. No, I said. You will, he warned. Others David worked with aren't as nice. He hung up. I told Ethan the next morning. He paced. He called me too, he said, handing me a note. Simon Holt. He says he funded David's accounts. We have until Friday or there's trouble. We looked at the bank key. The deposit box might explain this, Ethan said. But do we want to open it? I asked, voice shaky. What if it's worse? Lisa sat beside me. Not knowing is worse, she said. She was right. We planned to hit the bank, then find someone who knew David's deals. Ethan mentioned a name, James Porter, Dad's old friend. Mom said he was honest with Dad, even when it hurt. Where is he? I asked. Tacoma, Ethan said. Mom kept his address. We drove 2 hours through rain, quiet, tense. Tacoma's old streets felt heavy, like they held secrets too. James lived in a cedar house with mossy steps. He opened the door. Erica? Ethan? He said, unsurprised. You knew we'd come? I asked. He nodded. David said you'd find me if it fell apart. Inside, his home smelled of coffee and wood. He handed us a sealed envelope. David left this. Only open it if you're both here. I tore it open. A letter and another will. This one named Sarah's unborn child, giving them 25% of David's hidden savings at 21. I went pale. He planned for this, I whispered. Why not name Sarah? I asked James. He trusted the child, he said, not her. Ethan shifted. This means Sarah can't touch the money. James pointed to the USB. That's your leverage. For the first time, I felt strong, like I held the map to David's chaos, excited. Ethan leaned in. We need to act before Paul or Simon moves. I nodded. Bank first. Pacific Trust was a small brick building in Seattle, tucked between a cafe and a bookstore. Lisa waited in the car. Text if it's weird, she said, grinning. Or cry. Banks hate tears. Laughs. Inside, the vault manager checked the key and my IB. This box hasn't been touched in years, he said. It's under Silver Coast Ventures. He led us to a cold vault, gave us gloves, and left. I hesitated. Ready? Ethan asked. No, I said, but turned the key. The box held no cash, just a folder and a photo. The photo showed David, Ethan, Paul Reed, and Simon Holt, laughing in front of a truck. They were a team, I said, stunned. Ethan opened the folder. Contracts, shell companies, payoffs, and a paper labeled Holt Blackmail Insurance. This isn't just proof, I whispered. It's a weapon. David didn't leave me a mess. He left me power. We went to a lawyer, Karen Wells, who'd handled my mom's estate. I told her about the documents, the threats, the accounts, not the affairs. Want to press charges? She asked. No, I said. I want protection. She copied everything, storing backups with her, me, and Lisa. Smart, Lisa said. Karen drafted a letter. I added, "Don't test me, EL." We sent it to Paul Reed. He called in 10 minutes. Think you're smart? He snapped. You're out of your league. No, I said. You are. My next call's to the FBI. He laughed, then paused. What do you want? Nothing, I said. Stop calling, stop threatening. Touch me or mine, and every file goes public. He hung up. Simon Holt called later, smooth, like a salesman. Erica, let's start over, he said. No, I cut in. I have your signatures on illegal deals. I've got nothing to lose, and that makes me dangerous. He went quiet. I hung up. That night, Ethan and I sat on Lisa's porch, the USB in his pocket, a folder copy hidden in her shed. I didn't know he was this deep, Ethan said. Mom called him complex. I thought she meant moody, not criminal. He was both, I said, staring at the stars. We haven't opened the USB yet. It took 2 days to work up the nerve. At Lisa's, with tea cooling, I plugged it in. One folder, for Erica. One video, dated 12 days before David's death. I clicked. David appeared, tired, unshaven. "Erica," he said, "if you're watching, I'm gone. I wanted to protect you, but I waited too long." He leaned in. "Be careful of someone you trust too much. Sarah." The room froze. "It wasn't just a mistake with her," he said. "She planned it. The pregnancy wasn't random. When I said I'd end it, she threatened to expose the accounts I hid to keep you safe. And I think she killed Maggie." I gasped. "I can't prove it," he said. "But Maggie's car crash? No witnesses. Failed brakes? Right after a service? Sarah knew she was pregnant. Maggie didn't." Lisa covered her mouth. Ethan's hands balled up. "I tried to fix it," David said. "I left you the truth. Walk away or fight, but don't fight alone." The screen went black. I didn't tell Sarah about the video. I invited her to brunch at Lisa's, hugged her, said I missed her, sarcastic. She wore a sundress, hand on her belly. "She moves when I eat sweets," she said. I smiled, cold. We sat on the porch. Ethan stayed inside. Lisa poured tea and left. "I'm glad you called," said Sarah. "I thought you hated me." "Why would I?" I asked. "Because you slept with my husband? Or because he left you money?" She flinched. I leaned in. "He didn't love you. He feared you." I set the USB between us. "I know about the accounts, the lies, Maggie." She didn't blink. "You can't prove it," she said. "I don't need to," I replied. "I'm walking away, leaving you with your mess." She stood. "That doesn't scare me." "It will," I said, and went inside. I gave Karen the USB, an affidavit, and one order. "If anything happens to me, release it all." Then I went home, walked through the quiet rooms, packed a bag, and locked the shed for good. A week later, I flew to Montana. A small cabin, clean air, a new name on the lease. No lies, no safes, just me, Erica Larson, widow, survivor. Not the woman who was betrayed, but the one who turned secrets into strength.